The Dark Knight of Gotham City begins his war on crime with his first major enemy being Jack Napier, a criminal who becomes the clownishly homicidal Joker. 1989's Batman is up next on Inside Movies. Hey guys, I don't know what I'm doing. Hey guys, welcome to Inside Movies. My name is George Michail. I'm a comic book writer. I'm joined by novelist Andrew Buckley, writer, editor-in-chief of Merc Magazine, Murphey, and writer-illustrator GMB CHOMICHUK. Thanks so much for being on the show, guys. And lady.
Nah, my guy, it's fine.
All right. I'm super excited. We're talking about Tim Burton's Batman movie. Let's get into it. What's the good? What do we like about this movie?
So much.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. Can I just say, I think I'm probably the most haggard old man in the group. So I can remember walking through the halls of my junior high school. My good friend Gary Grauman and I, so pumped that a comic book movie is being made. They hyped the shit out of this version of Batman. You couldn't walk into a clothing store without Batman shirts of every variety. Posters, like, you know, you bought a Happy Meal, there was Batman stuff. Just Batman everywhere before the movie came out. And that had not been done. The idea that you could get hyped up over a comic book something was a wholly new experience in my little nerd life. And for the first time, I cut school to go see a movie. This was an important moment in young Gregory
heartwarming.
Yeah, it is heartwarming. And man, I can't wait to talk about the bad, because there's some things that disappointed me. But my God, what a great film overall.
I remember the media blitz for this. Like, it was huge. It was everywhere. And I remember the trading cards and the action figures. This is the first movie I ever got on VHS. I was 7, and I asked for it for my birthday. It came out around that time of year. And my parents got it for me, but I wasn't allowed to watch it until they watched it first to make sure it was okay, because I was only 7. And then they let me watch it, and I was like, yes. So it was awesome. Yeah, it was like a cultural event, this movie.
You know what? Speaking of new superheroes, Murphy, what do you got for us?
You know, I actually have a superhero of my own, Deathrage. I have the 4th book. That is one that I am really excited about. We are going to introduce the mutants of my world. It kind of give a backstory. You're going to kind of find out about them and like his like sidekick. And there's just a lot of exciting stuff that this got a lot of reveals that are going to happen in this issue. And that's coming on Kickstarter this March. So check out Deathrage number 4 on Kickstarter from Merc Publishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Deathrage series has been great so far, and I can't wait for the 4th installment. Link in the description of this video.
So, okay, going back, so I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. You know, this had been out for a while once I finally saw it. And so it was just kind of this thing that, you know, it was to me, it's a Batman movie, because there's so many Batman movies that have been around since I've been around. But like going back and
spoiled, your whole generation, so spoiled.
You know?
So many bats in the belfry.
But going back and watching like the first, like really the first big screen depiction of Batman, and like watching it as like Gotham doesn't even know he exists yet. You get the real first introduction of Batman on the big screen. Like, it's just so, I mean, I was still getting chills watching it, even like having, you know, it's been decades, and they did such a good job of introducing Gotham and introducing the characters and introducing kind of this like crazy dark political world of Gotham. And I just, it's a wonderful world building movie. And I know we're going to get into Jack Nicholson, but it's perfection. Jack Nicholson's Joker.
I just love that guy's voice. Like, don't kill me, man. Don't kill me. He's just so freaked right out. It's good.
It's a testament to how good this movie is that now, however many years later, what are we, 30-something years later, they're talking about Keaton still being an amazing Batman, him being Batman again in the new Flash movie. and now they're talking about potential Batman Beyond where he's old, playing the older version of Bruce Wayne.
And I remember being
crazy.
I remember being so disappointed when I heard he was cast. I was like, they're making a Batman movie. How can it be this guy? I don't know how this is going to work. And I remember it like 5 minutes into the film, or I guess 5 minutes into first seeing Batman. I was like, okay, I'm in.
I can make it even happier. Do you know who the first choice was? Do you know who was originally meant to be? Who they really wanted?
No.
It's Mel Gibson.
Oh
Number one choice. And he was
I want
to
Riggs and Murtaugh as Batman and the Joker now, though.
Now they're too old for this shit. It wouldn't work.
Oh my goodness. Production design. This is Tim Burton just, turning Gotham City into a place we've never seen before.
Right? An Oscar for that.
He did. Well, and well deserving. The edifices, just the idea that you wished you could tour that city because it only could exist in someone's imagination. And a city like that could create a Batman. That was what I remember the most about it. I was like, yeah, this is a world that would have psychos dressed up in capes jumping out of roofs, right? Like, for sure.
Well, and it felt like a comic book world. It really was. The pages just put onto the screen. I mean, he did such a good job of making it feel like Gotham as we've seen it in the comics.
You can't actually place a year on it, but nor do you give a shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just Fedora. It's like the year where Fedora, or it's a Gotham City set in the present day where fedoras never went out of style.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? It's so good. Yeah, so good.
And the vehicle designs, like the Batmobile, this is the best Batmobile in my opinion.
Yeah, this is honestly my favorite on-screen Batmobile, I think. Yeah.
The Batwing's cool, and when it flies up in front of the moon and then drops down, it's just so awesome,
It has that moment, as long as you brought it up, has such visual cool, but makes no sense.
Pointless. So pointless.
It's just so cool though, and so much of comics is like that, right? Like, we're gonna go for a visual because there's and because it freezes for a second, it's actually a freeze frame panel, comic book feeling moment, and then drops again. Oh, and the musical cue in that moment, flawless.
Oh, Danny Elfman's score? It's still the thing you shows with Batman. Even when they stuck it like a little snippet in Justice League where he's racing through the Russian town or whatever. Even when they just had just a tiniest little bit, it was like, oh, the Danny Elfman score. He is Batman.
I like the darker tone, like, because you got to remember, like, previous to this, it was like the Adam West Batman, right? And I watched all those too, like, growing up in Canada on YTV, they had them in the afternoons, and I watched all those, and I watched the movie, and this is just so much cooler and edgier, and it's kind of inspired by The Dark Knight Returns. That kind of gritty vibe to it. And the Batman costume is edgy. I don't think we had seen it like all black before. At least I hadn't. So it was awesome.
And I thought the kind of love connection, love story that went throughout the movie fit surprisingly well for something that's supposed to be so dark and action and all that. Like, I actually did enjoy that piece of it, whereas sometimes it can feel really forced. You know
why? I think I agree with you totally. That watching it again from a more adult perspective, when you see Bruce Wayne vulnerable, trying to tell her who he is, trying to tell her, like, he's basically saying, I really fucked up my life and I became the Batman. Like, help me. This is not good. This is not a healthy life I've created for myself. He's about to admit, it's like a person with a horrible addiction, right? Just gonna like, please, I finally found something in my life that's better than my own dysfunction. And that's where, if he had delivered any of that stuff as Batman, no way. But him without it in front of her, like, it sells it as a vulnerable moment as a character, for sure.
And he was a perfect, like, night and day character. Like, he worked as Bruce Wayne, he worked as Batman, surprisingly. Like, I don't think anybody expected Michael Keaton to work as Batman, but he pulls it off because he's got that weird, like, just on the edge of crazy, where you can actually buy him as being an eccentric, millionaire or a billionaire, whatever he's supposed to be.
And also that perfect bit where you want to get nuts, let's get nuts.
Oh, I love that scene.
Where he tricks the Joker into shooting, like he's planned the whole thing, right? Like right from the moment. That's the world's greatest detective, right? I need to get him to shoot me, not stab me, not beat me up, not do anything else. So I have to act in such a way that he'll just shoot me at a distance. So I have to pick up this weapon. I have to put the thing, like the construction of that scene is so great.
He had that one little shade of Beetlejuice in there. It's just a momentary thing where he slipped into the voice just for a second.
Well, if she had said Batman 3 times, he could have appeared at any moment. Right?
He's hanging upside down from the workout machine all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, he starts singing, and he doesn't know why.
Jack Nicholson's great as the Joker, right? Chewing it up and
Jack Nicholson out of makeup. The smile. I hate it so much and I love it even more. It's so just awful to look at. And it's so perfect.
Disturbing.
Character. Yeah.
I like how when he puts he washes his face and then the white comes through. Like the skin color is the makeup and that's cool. That's really cool.
Also the prosthetic is beautiful. I mean, it's seamless.
It was a 3-hour application, and he would sleep through the entire thing. Because he was in the heat of his party days. He was up till 3 a.m. every day, so he wouldn't come to set till 10 a.m. Keaton would be there at 7, and then as soon as Nicholson arrived, he sat down in his chair and went straight to sleep. And then it took 3 hours to apply all his makeup.
No wonder he had so much energy in those scenes.
That's the dream.
that is the dream. I will say that there was a weird thing with Kim Basinger's. Maybe not weird. It was just the style of that time. But she has that sweep over hair. But it felt like in some of those scenes with the added Tim Burton Dutch angle that her head is looks like it's too heavy. When you added her tilt plus the Dutch angle, it seemed like she'd flip her hair and it'd be whoa, right? A little too much Kim Basinger curl.
A lot of product in there.
Yeah, just pull her right over.
I like the rest of the cast as well. I forget the actor's name, but he's he plays Jack Napier's boss. He was Curly in the City Slickers movie. Jack Lance. He's so good. He's so good in there. And Alfred,
one guy.
One of the boys too. And Alfred is great. That's what I think of Alfred. I don't know. Maybe just growing up with this movie, that's my Alfred.
He's got he's formal, but he's got the little cheekiness to him, and that's what I always feel that's the perfect Alfred. Alfred is that he is very formal and has his chest held high, but he'll kind of make a nab at you, or the way that he was really just pushing them together, I thought was really cute because he's okay, Bruce, you need this. Don't fuck this up, okay?
And he was the same actor, right, through right into the Schumacher ones too, right? He stayed the same. But his character transition, he was really good in Batman and Batman Returns because he was kind of that classic Alfred who was, the stiff upper lip British guy, but he was kind of funny and he pushed him in the right direction. And then he became the weird, warm and fuzzy father figure in the Schumacher ones, where I was well, that's not as cool as what he was.
And there's also Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent. I would have liked that explored more, but. And they do that in the Batman '89 comic books, but I don't know, it's kind of cool.
He signed on. He had in his contract that he was to play Two-Face in the future movies, and they passed it over in Returns because there was a scheduling conflict. And when it came to Batman Forever, because his contract, I guess, gave him perpetuity to play Two-Face whenever it came up. They bought out his contract because they wanted Tommy Lee Jones to do it. So they actually paid him off to get out of it.
I think I would have preferred him to play Two-Face over Tommy Lee Jones because Tommy Lee Jones just basically did a Joker impersonation.
In the Schumacher version, though?
Yeah.
I think it would have really...
I don't know if it would have really helped.
You wanted in a Schumacher anything. Oh, let's not even talk about those.
No, sorry.
All right, well, we've praised this movie enough. Let's get into the bad. What do we not like about this Batman movie?
He doesn't know how to throw a punch, and it bugs me the entire movie. right? Like he's cool. He's like a vampire. He's so great. And then the one like kung fu movie does is like a trick iron bar from his wrist. He is a terrible hand-to-hand fighter. I felt like you could throw his cape over his head and just knock him out yourself at any moment.
It's like original Star Wars trilogy level choreography where it's just very slow and like just really big movements to make you think that it's going to be powerful.
Yeah. Just the worst fight. And that as a kid was also drove me nuts because I loved watching the movie, everything else about it. And I got to the point, because this was those days, right? You didn't have too many superhero movies, so you watched them over and over. I would literally just turn away and draw different fight scenes during the fight scenes, ones that were more interesting. And that's what I was.
The beginning of you making comic books.
It might be out of spite, like a little kernel of spite. But because the sound was so good, everything else was so good around it, why not have a fight choreographer that could teach someone in a cape how to fight?
I think part of that is like the costume was so hard for him to move in.
He couldn't turn his head. That came decades later.
I don't buy it. You just have to give them one Aikido instructor, and they could have turned that into like not moving, but still being amazing. He could have been.
They had Steven Seagal. That would have just
Steven Seagal body doubling as Batman. Yes.
All of a sudden, he's like 2 feet taller.
Yes.
They had a martial artist as a stuntman, and they also had a dancer as an additional stuntman because I guess there was like a cape sweep that Keaton couldn't do, and so they literally had some guy in particular to do it. But the martial artist who was doing the stuff had the same problem. The suit was so restrictive, he could barely like get any kind of solid movement out of it.
I don't know. If you can have a good fight scene in The Predator, you can have a good fight scene in Batman.
You would think so. It's true.
For me, one of the worst scenes in the movie is when Alfred lets Vicky Vale into the Batcave. Like, come on, dude! Like that shouldn't happen. That's not in the source material.
I've always justified that in my heart as Alfred feels guilty that he let him become Batman in the first place. Like Alfred enables that entire psychosis right up to the point where like the boy he's supposed to be taken care of has built a secret identity and lives in a cave in the basement of the house. Like Alfred's probably like, shit, I let this go way too far. Maybe, you know what? I don't know what else to do. Maybe I should let this girl down there. Maybe she can talk some sense into him. That's the only rationale. Because way to be a wingman. You know what? Just come on down. You know what? Come on, just come right in here. I gotta make soup for the boss. You go check it out.
What a weird food to eat while you're trying to like, Batman's not a soup eater. Like, come on, he's like a sandwich guy. Like, he's not. I don't know.
He's a sandwich guy.
I like picturing. We never really got to see Batman in costume eating soup, but I would pay for a super cut of just Batman with the gloves and the little like pointy nose mask, just slurping his
he need a straw because of the movement problem. He kind of just like
he can't.
That's the only way to do it.
I think like overall in this movie, there's maybe not enough action. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of story.
A lot of talking.
Yeah.
And also, I want to know who made Joker's gun.
The really long barrel one?
The long barrel.
Great. Shoots the plane out of the air.
Great clown gag. But what kind of bullets can shoot down a super plane?
Yeah.
That
really
bugged
weird.
me forever. And here's why. My mom she loved this movie, and she believed so much that there must be a reason that she leaned over to me when we all went to see it as a family and said, "You got to tell me about his gun later. That must be awesome in the comics." Because she was like, this has got to be something because it doesn't make any sense in this film. And I was so disappointed. I'm pretty sure I lied on the way home in the car. Yeah, Joker's got a super gun because I didn't want to deflate her joy in that last comic book film. So I will carry that for a long time, that he just shoots that plane out of the sky with a revolver.
The climax overall was kind of weak. Apparently there was a lot of rewrites throughout production and they couldn't settle on an ending. So maybe that's why, because it just seems so anticlimactic to go up the tower and him kind of getting weighted down and falls down and like there wasn't. I guess it was just lack of action. It just wasn't strong enough.
That was really my only issue that I had was the whole movie watching it. I was just so into it, and then it just kind of the ending. It was like
fizzled.
Yeah, like I just didn't really felt like I needed more with like how happy I felt through the entire movie.
I agree with you guys. I love the scene where the bell falls though.
I do, that is very fun.
And like sweeps those stairs off. Like the logistics of just filming that and doing that, you know, with the combination of miniatures and practical stuff. Like, what a cool sequence.
Batman's killing people in this movie too. That's not
yeah.
You know, he's got the guns and on the Batmobile, and and he throws that guy right down the bell tower too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not super faithful to the source material, that's for sure.
No. But if you can't do kung fu, you got to kill him with guns.
Got no choice.
Right.
I mean, that's what I was going to say when you guys said you wanted more action. Like, well, if Batman can't fight, then you got to write your way around it.
Or more detective stuff.
Yeah.
They could have got around it that way, you know. But that's, I don't know, it's strange.
Well, this had the computer solve the problem, right? That was the whole thing with the cosmetics or whatever. It's kind of weak.
Yeah.
At least we get the detective stuff in the next one.
Theoretically.
And the Prince music, what do you guys think?
I'm down with the Prince music now.
It's fine.
Yeah, I wasn't super into it. Young Gregory was like, but present day Gregory digs the Prince.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really work for me 100%, but I do like it when it's playing in the museum there, or in the art gallery or whatever, and he's going there, and then Batman escapes with Vicky Vale, and he's like, where does he get those wonderful toys? Great line.
I've wanted to do that to an art gallery ever since I saw that. That's like an ambition of mine, is to bust into a gallery and just fuck some shit up like that. Yeah.
That did look like a lot of fun. But the delivery of that line though, where does he get those wonderful toys? Like, I got goosebumps. Even like, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. I still just it's such wonderful delivery of it.
It's partially why he took the role. Nicholson took Joker because it was a completely unpredictable character. So he was enamored with the fact that he could do whatever the hell he wanted with it. So a lot of the art gallery stuff, when he was fucking around, was all improvised. It was just him being crazy.
Well, I don't know if you guys thought about this at all, but you know, with the Dark Knight Returns series, you know, that Joker performance is one that is probably still one of my top 3 comic book movies of all time. And so I always think a lot about, you know, watching Jack Nicholson, like there's interviews with, you know, like he kind of like worked with Heath Ledger and like would always say, like, one of the things that I always stuck with me, he said, like, you don't do it serious. Like, you can't do it serious because it's going to get to you. Like, it'll get inside of you. And there's moments in this film where you can kind of see, like, you could see the kind of crazy in his eyes. And I think that like he teetered on that line, and I think he kind of wanted to hand that off. And it's just something that I thought about a lot watching this, just because I think that, you know, to me at least, they are the best Jokers, and they're very different. But it's hard not to compare the performances.
The little laughing box too, I'd like to is a chef's kiss. A little ha 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 box in his pocket at the end.
Let's give our final grades for Batman. This is the skinny. What's our grades here? What do you think? I'd like to go first. I'd like to give it a B for Batman. I like it, man. This is like intertwined with me growing up, and you know, it's not a perfect movie. There could be more action in it for sure, but it's definitely watchable for sure. Like it's not boring. That's absolutely true. So it's a good one. I liked it.
I'll give it 5 out of 5 cold bowls of soup in the Batcave. Excellent. Bob Kane should have given Bill Finger credit. And that's what I'll say about Batman. That's my final word on Batman.
I'll give it 8 out of 10 flying bat stars because I enjoyed watching it immensely.
I give it a 5 out of 5 completely useless bat wing in front of the moon shots, because completely useless. But I mean, it was the Batman of my childhood. I loved the fact that all my favorite comic book hero was all of a sudden on the big screen, and he wasn't campy like Adam West was. And the thing was like a crazy success. They shot it for 35 million. It made 411 million worldwide.
Wow.
It's pretty damn good. And Nicholson came up like, I mean, not to be punny, but like
Came out like a bandit.
Yeah, he really did. He had points on the back end and some percentage on the merchandising. He came out with about $60 million, which was basically unheard of for that time.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a huge movie, a cultural kind of event. And yeah, it was a great one. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside Movies. I've been George Michail, joined by Andrew Buckley, Murphey, and GMB CHOMICHUK. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and check out the Deathrage issue 4 Kickstarter. Link in the description of this video. Go out and support Murphy's new project. Until next time, peace.